All right, everybody, with me today for another deep dive. This time we're talking ancient mysteries, spaceships, maybe even rewriting history as we know it.
Well, at least taking a closer look at one very particular and very controversial interpretation of it.
That's right. Today we are diving headfirst into the world of Zecharia Sitchin and his book, The Cosmic Code.
Now, Sitchin's work has been, let's just say, hotly debated in academic circles.
That's putting it mildly, but hey, where's the fun in a deep dive without a little controversy, right?
I suppose not. But to be fair to Sitchin, his ideas have captured the imaginations of a lot of people.
Yeah, because who doesn't love a good alien theory?
Especially one that connects to ancient civilizations and those tantalizing mysteries they left behind.
Okay, so for anyone who hasn't encountered Sitchin's work, think ancient Sumeria, those incredible clay tablets covered in cuneiform script.
And Sitchin was convinced those tablets held the key to understanding not just Sumerian history, but the origins of humanity itself.
He went looking for Mesopotamian kings and found, well, something else entirely, didn't he?
He did. He found the Anunnaki.
The Anunnaki, right.
Yeah.
Now, most scholars, they see those names as, what, mythical figures? Gods, goddesses, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Part of the rich tapestry of Sumerian mythology.
But not our guy Sitchin. Oh no, he took one look at those ancient texts and saw something else entirely.
He saw extraterrestrials.
Aliens, plain and simple. He believed these Anunnaki weren't just metaphors or deities, but actual beings who traveled from another planet to visit Earth thousands of years ago.
A planet he called Nibiru, which he claimed had a very long elliptical orbit around our sun.
So not your average trip to the grocery store then?
Not quite. We're talking about a planet swinging through our solar system every 3,600 years, according to Sitchin.
3,600 years. So last time these Anunnakis were supposedly here, Stonehenge was still under construction.
Give or take a few centuries. And look, I should mention, mainstream astronomy hasn't found any evidence of a planet like Nibiru with an orbit like that.
Okay, so point for the skeptics, fair enough. But even if we put aside the whole planet debate for a second, why were these Anunnaki so interested in Earth, according to Sitchin? What brought them to this little blue planet of ours?
Well, he believed they were after something quite specific and surprisingly practical when you think about it.
Hit me with it. What did these supposed ancient astronauts want?
Gold.
Gold. Seriously, they came all that way for gold.
That's right. According to Sitchin's interpretations of those Sumerian texts, he believed the Anunnaki needed gold to repair their planet's atmosphere.
Okay, so even advanced aliens have to deal with climate change. Who knew?
It's a thought, isn't it? But it's interesting, though, because this whole concept of gold as being vital, even sacred, it's not unique to Sitchin, is it?
You're right. Think about ancient cultures all over the world. Gold was associated with gods, with royalty, with something, well, otherworldly.
Exactly. And Sitchin taps right into those deep-seated beliefs about the power and importance of gold. But here's where things get really interesting and even more controversial. It's not just that the Anunnaki came to Earth for gold, according to Sitchin.
Oh.
There's more to this story. What else did he come up with?
Well, they needed someone to mine it for them.
Okay, that tracks. I mean, even aliens probably don't want to spend all their time digging in the dirt. But where do humans fit into all of this?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And Sitchin's answer was, well, let's just say bold. He believed the Anunnaki, and this is where we really enter the realm of science fiction.
Go on.
He believed they genetically engineered early humans.
Wait, they went from gold miners to genetic engineers? That's quite a leap.
It is. Sitchin's theory gets very complex here, but basically he suggested that the Anunnaki combined their own DNA with that of hominids already present on Earth to create a species capable of, well, doing their bidding, their mining, essentially. Hold on a minute. So you're telling me our ancient alien ancestors, according to Sitchin at least, essentially cooked us up in some kind of cosmic laboratory?
In a very simplified nutshell, that's one way to put it.
Yeah.
He saw echoes of this supposed genetic manipulation in ancient myths, in the Bible, even in the long lifespans attributed to certain biblical figures.
I can see why this is where a lot of people, especially those in more traditional academic fields, might raise an eyebrow or two.
Or a whole forehead, to be
Yeah.
honest. And that's an important point to make here, as captivating as Sitchin's narrative can be.
And I'll admit, it's a pretty wild ride.
It is. But we have to acknowledge that the Anunnaki, while they are indeed part of an ancient Sumerian mythology.
Or those stories did exist long before Sitchin came along.
Exactly. The way he portrays them, the purpose he assigns them, it often diverges quite drastically from how those figures are understood within the context of traditional scholarship.
So it's not necessarily about the existence of the myths themselves, but how Sitchin chose to interpret them.
Precisely. He took these existing pieces of a very complex puzzle and arranged them in a way that supported his theory. And, sometimes that meant leaving out certain pieces or maybe interpreting others in a way that maybe wasn't entirely conventional.
Okay, so let's dive into some specifics then, shall we? Because we've thrown around some pretty big ideas already. Ancient aliens, genetic engineering, gold-hungry space travelers.
It's a lot to unpack, I know. Let's start with one of the most common examples cited by Sitchin and other ancient astronaut theorists, the Sumerian king list.
The king list? Yeah, I've heard of this. What is it exactly?
Imagine a document passed down through generations that claims to list all the kings of a civilization, going all the way back to its very beginning.
Okay, so like a royal family tree, but for an entire civilization.
You got it. And that's what makes it so fascinating, but also so open to interpretation. Because this king list, it doesn't just list names, it lists reigns. How long each king ruled and some of those reigns.
Let me guess they were on the long side.
Let's just say, some of these Sumerian kings were supposedly in power for centuries. We're talking lifespans that make Methuselah look like he lived a long weekend.
Centuries. Okay, so either these Sumerian kings had some seriously impressive genes, or
maybe those numbers weren't meant to be taken literally.
Right, because who lives for centuries? Unless you're a giant tortoise, or maybe.
Or maybe an advanced extraterrestrial being. At least that was Sitchin's interpretation.
He saw those crazy long reigns and went straight to the Anunnaki, didn't he?
He did. He interpreted those lifespans as evidence of the Anunnaki's advanced technology, their potential immortality, maybe even their ability to manipulate time itself.
Okay, but isn't it more likely that those ancient scribes were, stretching the truth a little? Like maybe those kings just had a really good PR team.
That's precisely what most historians and scholars believe. The king list, it's likely a blend of historical record and, let's be honest, some good old-fashioned storytelling.
So it's like instead of King Bob ruled for 5 years, it's King Bob, slayer of 1,000 demons, ruled for 1,000 moons.
Exactly. It's about emphasizing the power and importance of these rulers, even if it means playing a bit fast and loose with the actual dates.
Which brings us back to a point we touched on earlier, right? Sitchin's work isn't just about the evidence itself, the texts, the artifacts, the myths. It's about the way he put those pieces together.
It's about interpretation, and that's where things can get tricky, especially when we're talking about ancient history and archaeology.
It's like those optical illusions where you see one thing and then someone points out another way to look at it.
Exactly. Sitchin was a master at finding those alternative interpretations, those patterns that connected back to his theory, even if those connections might not have been obvious to everyone.
And that's kind of the heart of why we're so drawn to this, right? It's not just about aliens and spaceships. It's about challenging what we think we know. It's about the possibility that history might be even stranger than we thought.
And that's a powerful idea, this idea that there might be hidden chapters, secret knowledge waiting to be uncovered.
Like finding out your family history is way more exciting than you ever imagined. Suddenly, those boring old ancestors become adventurers and revolutionaries.
It's about rewriting the narrative, questioning the established timelines and explanations, and maybe even finding a new appreciation for those cultures and civilizations that came before us.
Because for a long time, the mainstream view was basically ancient humans, they were pretty primitive, right? They believed in all sorts of crazy myths and legends. But Sitchin comes along and says,
He says, what if those myths were more than just stories? What if they contained grains of truth, memories of events so incredible they had to be disguised as myth to be preserved at all?
I can see how that would be appealing. It's like, hey, maybe our ancestors weren't so clueless after all.
Exactly. And maybe, just maybe, those ancient cultures witnessed something extraordinary. Something that we, with our modern perspective, might have dismissed as impossible.
So are you saying we should all start building spaceships and brushing up on our ancient Sumerian just in case the Anunnaki come back for another visit?
I wouldn't go that far. It's important to remember that as compelling as Sitchin's ideas can be, there's still no concrete scientific evidence to support the existence of Nibiru or the Anunnaki.
No giant smoking spaceships hidden under the sands of Egypt.
Not yet, anyway. But that's the beauty of it, isn't it? The mystery, the unanswered questions. Sitchin's work, it forces us to confront those big what-ifs.
Okay, so where do we land on all of this? Is Sitchin's work just a fun thought experiment, a way to spice up our history books? Or is there a chance he was actually onto something?
I think it's important to approach all theories, whether they're considered mainstream or, as you said, a little out there, with a healthy dose of critical thinking, to look at the evidence, to examine the interpretations, and to come to our own conclusions.
To be honest, part of me wants to believe it, the idea that we're not alone in the universe, that maybe, just maybe, someone stopped by to say hello a few thousand years ago.
It's a romantic notion, isn't it? And it speaks to a deeper human need, I think. This desire to connect with something larger than ourselves, to find meaning and purpose in the vastness of existence.
It's like that saying, we want to believe.
We do, don't we? There's a certain thrill in imagining those possibilities, even if they challenge everything we thought we knew.
Okay, so huge overarching question here as we wrap up our deep dive into Sitchin and his Anunnaki. What's the takeaway? If we're being honest with ourselves, should we file this one under fun fiction or potential history?
Honestly, I think Sitchin's most enduring contribution might be less about proving anything definitively and more about reminding us that history itself is a narrative.
Okay, I'm following you. Keep going.
For a long time, we approached it as cut and dry, right? Dates, names, civilizations rise and fall. But Sitchin, he forces us to acknowledge the human element, the interpretation, the possibility of bias, even the stories we choose to tell ourselves about the past.
So it's not just about what happened, but how we make sense of it all these years later.
Exactly. Maybe those ancient Sumerians, when they looked up at the stars, saw something different than we do today. Maybe they interpreted events through a different lens. Sitchin might not have all the answers, but he makes you think, doesn't he?
He really does. And whether you buy into the ancient astronaut theory or not, I think we can all agree there's still a lot we don't know about our own past.
There's always another layer to uncover, another interpretation to consider, and that's exciting.
It is. It means history isn't some dusty old textbook, it's a living, breathing thing. And who knows, maybe someday we will find that irrefutable piece of evidence that completely rewrites everything we thought we knew.
Until then, we keep asking questions, we keep exploring, and we keep our minds open to the possibility that the universe still holds plenty of surprises.
That's a perfect note to end on. Big thanks to you, of course, for taking this wild ride with me. Always a pleasure digging into these mysteries, and who knows what fascinating corners of history we'll explore next.
Always happy to be here.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. It would be a great source of help to maintain and develop this channel and the correlated website. This book overview was presented to you by olbooksummary.com. Are you interested in more insights into personal development books or motivational and inspirational books? Please visit olbooksummary.com and you will find a library of the most helpful self-development and human character development books overviews. See you soon with the next books overview video.